10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey guys, Brooklyn Attic Books here. I am trying something different today just to see if it works out. I have been repeatedly recommended several books, and I felt like 2024 was the year of me reading your recommendations. So, as part of that, last month I decided to give Dan Simmons' Hyperion a try, and since Dune, I really haven't fallen in love with any sci fi series until Dan Simmons. And then a horror that you guys have recommended over and over has been The Ruins by Scott Smith. I am actually in not one but two book discussions this month in March for the book The Ruins. And I have no idea why. Why is this book from 2006 so popular? Is my question. So, I'm not the biggest fan of this book. If you've read it and you're like, wow, this is really good, I think I know why. It's because the horror elements in it are very, very good. But oh my god, is Scott Smith the wrong person to write this book? All right. It's repetitive. It's like reading a really bad movie from 2006. It reminds me of all the teeny bopper horror movies with all the pretty college kids that get killed off one by one, right? That's exactly what it reminds me of. However, I just don't think it's good writing, guys. Like, I really don't think it's good writing. So, as an example of this, there is one quote, page 294, and this is just to show you how Scott Smith, instead of like evoking your emotional fear of the darkness, he just kind of tells you, like, hey, be afraid of the dark. And it's not cool, man. I just didn't feel it. So, a quote was when Amy and Jeff went back down into the mine shaft, I guess, to try to find this cell phone that kept chirping. And it says, and it's a very short line, but you'll see. It was dark after this, terribly dark, darker than Amy would have thought possible. Like, he used the same word three times in one sentence. Yes, that was all one sentence. It's like, hey guys, imagine the darkest dark that ever darked. Like, what kind of effect does that have on you? My one big qualm with this book was that the characters felt very two dimensional to me. They were not very well developed. We don't really know much more about them. Even the secondary characters were identified by their nationalities. So you knew about the Greeks and you knew the German guy, and that was basically it. That's like the personality they were given. So I get it. The characters were supposed to be dumb college kids, kind of naive to how the world works. They really should have stayed, at their beach resort in Cancun. However, it was meant to be a beware of dot 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 type of story, right? Beware of danger, beware of the unknown. But we don't know what the unknown is. They don't mention anything about the folklore surrounding the area. They don't really go much into the Mayans. It it lacks depth on background of the story. And I don't want to give too much away once again. I don't really like talking about that if you are still wanting to read the book. Now, I feel like for those of you who have read the book or know the story, there was one character that was showing a little bit of depth and a little bit of promise, in my perspective. But then nothing really happened. Uh, the character Jeff was very forward. He was very like extreme survivalist. But a part of that, Yes, it stemmed from the fact that he was in I guess he was becoming a doctor, and he was in medical school. But beside that, he almost took pleasure out of like the miserable situations they were in. And I felt like the author was going to foreshadow that and maybe make him seem kind of like as if the guy from American Psycho was this was his college years and he went off. I almost wanted this guy to turn into a villain. I felt like using Jeff in a bigger plot would have gave the story more depth, but it never came. Yes, it does have 100%. It's like a horror book with horror elements in it, and they were creepy and excellent, but the writing wasn't good. The dialogue isn't good. And after having gone through about 80% of the book, I looked up this author, Scott Smith, and I found out that he only really wrote two books and he's really a screenwriter. And he did, in fact, write the screenplay for the movie. And I've heard nothing but bad things about it, but I'm not surprised. And so, after reading that he is really a screenwriter, it gave me a different perspective, and I realized that he's not really a horror novelist. Realized that Scott Smith is a screenwriter and he was really writing a book for a movie almost. Like it was just it's weird. It's like the book came first, but it almost reads like a novelization. It's so weird. We're being told the entire time what's happening. We're not experiencing the full on impact and emotions that the characters might be experiencing. So this read exactly like the era it came out of. This 2006. I believe it was probably the worst era in horror movies, by the way. I'm going to watch the movie, I'm going to make fun of it, and that's it. That's what I feel about The Ruins. Now, Hyperion, Dan Simmons. This is really good stuff. It reminds me of, like somebody explained, it's the Canterbury Tales, but science fiction. But now, kind of like throwing in kind of Einstein's Dreams, if anybody has read that book. Um, I forget the author on that one, but it's not Einstein, but it's about his theories of how time works and how time, I guess, lapses and can work. But I really enjoyed this. Definitely picking up The Fall of Hyperion as my next book. And that's it, guys. Keep the recommendations coming. But whoever recommend this, don't ever recommend nothing to me ever again. Seriously. Bye, guys.